Hey everybody, welcome back. We've been getting a lot more views lately, so thank you all so much. I really do appreciate the support. I've started to drop 2 videos a week now, and I'm really considering moving up to 3 or maybe even a few more, just because of the amount of content that I'm consuming and that I want to talk about. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date if you're enjoying the content. My spoiler review for Doom Part 2 dropped Tuesday night, so check that out. Next week, watch out for my review of Reacher Season 2 and my Thor retrospective. And before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and most importantly, tell your friends. I would appreciate any and all support you give to the channel. Now, let's dive into Iron Man 2. I'm always conflicted when revisiting Iron Man 2. This is a film I absolutely enjoy, and it's a fun movie. I don't consider it as terrible as a lot of reviewers would lead you to believe. Sure, it's clunky and it's a bit overstuffed, and I certainly wouldn't grant it access into the upper echelon of MCU material, but it's a good movie. We jump back into Tony's journey as Iron Man, a now established hero. We get to see him go toe-to-toe with the US government and Sam Rockwell's Justin Hammer in a battle of wits, as well as face off against a capable physical threat in Mickey Rourke's Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash. Pepper and Rhodey, one with a new face, as Tony's trusted allies return, and we get introduced to an absolute revelation of Scarlett Johansson's Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. The heartbeat of this movie is undoubtedly Tony and his intimate relationships that he carries around him, and I think that's where I want to start. It's no secret that Downey owned this role in Iron Man 1. If you saw my video on it, you'll know I just could not stop talking about it. And he continues his mastery of this character in Iron Man 2. Tony overcoming his palladium poisoning and his personal strifes is the most compelling storyline in this movie. I just wish that was the focal point of this story. This story is loosely based off the Demon in the Bottle storyline from the Iron Man comics, which focuses on Tony overcoming alcoholism. We get glimpses of that here, along with Tony's constant irresponsible behavior, but I just don't think we get enough for it to have a huge emotional impact like it should. They gave it to us without pushing the boundaries. In our society, alcohol dependency can be a tough issue to discuss, and I understand not wanting to dive fully into that conversation, but what we did get was a pretty poor attempt at making a statement. The same can be said about the Palladium thread. The dilemma is set up to be this dramatic plot involving Tony's time running thin as he seeks a replacement for his core. And it does start that way. Then we sort of jump to the end of the movie and boom, he solves the problem like that. What's missing is we never really feel the struggle in his pursuit and the weight of the fallbacks of him trying to save his own life. And I think the underlying issue that affects not only these 2 storylines, but also the additional plot threads throughout this movie is the fact that there is just too much going on. Real quick, let's just run down the list of everything this film wants to present. It wants to show us Tony overcome physical and emotional adversities, set up Rhodey as Tony's formidable sidekick, set up Pepper as Tony's rightful successor to Stark Industries, introduce Justin Hammer as a perfect industry foil for Tony, introduce Whiplash along with his Stark revenge storyline, introduce Black Widow and her connection with S.H.I.E.L.D., continue to flesh out S.H.I.E.L.D. and its role in the universe, and last but not least, use this as a jumping off point to set up the Avengers. That is a lot. This film is bloated, and I think if even just a few of these plot lines would have been removed, it would have helped the focus of this film immensely. In my opinion, we could have done away with a lot of the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, probably the Vanko storyline, and this movie would have been better for it. But as I stated up top, this movie excels when it focuses on Tony and his relationships, chiefly with Pepper and Rhodey. Almost every interaction that Tony has with Pepper, and even with Rhodey in this movie, is emotional, poignant, and impactful. You feel Tony and Pepper's romance growing and the inevitable wall that precludes them from taking it one step further. And the relief you feel once they finally share their first kiss in the finale, it's elating. Similarly, with Rhodey, you relate to their relationship. We've all had people in our lives, whether it's a friend, a family member, or otherwise, that we've had to have the hard conversation with. We've had to push them to do better. When Rhodey decides to take matters into his own hands and confront Tony physically and emotionally, you understand that type of conflict. He cares deeply about Tony, so deeply that he knows what he has to do to make Tony see the error in his ways. He forces Tony to realize that he doesn't have to deal with life's complications on his own. I know I said that you could eliminate the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. story aspect of this, but I would keep Black Widow, honestly. I think you can still keep her storyline essentially what it is with a few minor tweaks. ScarJo in this role just defines it. She's electric every time she's on screen. You believe wholeheartedly that she's this chameleon-like type spy that can become anyone. She nails it. I also have to point out, I understand at the time that people were upset with the Rhodey recasting with Don Cheadle. Terrence Howard is talented in his own right, but that being said, Cheadle is the superior choice, in my opinion. Not only for this role, but also for this entire universe. His personality and his chemistry with Downey and the rest of the cast, it just feels so much more natural and complete. This film, like a lot of MCU IP, has a villain problem. I do commend Favreau and the writers, though, for going a different route, at least. We discussed previously a recurring villain issue the MCU has, which is its tendency to choose villains that are just the evil counterpart of our hero. This movie doesn't do that. Well, it sort of doesn't do that. This movie boasts two villains, Whiplash and Justin Hammer. Hammer, a prominent weapons manufacturer and industry rival of Stark, seeks to acquire Tony's secrets to his Iron Man technology and become top dog in the world's arm race. Whiplash, the son of excommunicated former Stark employee Anton Vanko, aims to avenge his father and their family name by tearing down everything Tony has built. Both of these villains have the blueprint to be compelling. The issue is, these villains get meshed together, and neither's narrative gets enough room to breathe. When we first meet Whiplash, it's pretty awesome. He attacks Tony on a racetrack utilizing Stark's technology to create a pair of electrified whips, proving himself a physical match for Tony. But after that initial interaction, he's just kind of sidelined for like an hour, save for a few passing conversations he has with Hammer. When he finally returns to confront Tony and Rhodey in the finale, you don't feel the weight of that character anymore. Not to mention the fact that we revert back to the aforementioned MCU villain trope. Upon Whiplash's return, he boasts a full Iron Man suit, which kind of takes away from the unique design of his character from earlier in the film. Not to mention that Rourke's performance is subpar, considering his recent award success around this time. And god damn it, that Russian accent, my god is it laughable. I think Hammer is the better villain choice and should have been the main villain for the entirety of this film. Seeing him and Tony scrap utilizing only their intellectual prowesses would have been fascinating, and Rockwell is perfect for this role. He oozes charisma in every scene. I think you still could have included a henchman under Hammer for a physical altercation with our heroes, probably even Whiplash. The issue I have here is this movie tries to have its cake and eat it too. It wants both of these guys to be the main villain and share the limelight, and it just doesn't work. One aspect of this film that I think needs to be praised is the action. From Whiplash's attack on Tony in the Monaco race to the finale at the Stark Expo, it's all great. Seeing Iron Man and War Machine team up finally to dismantle waves of Hammer drones is a blast. Watching Black Widow infiltrate Hammer's facility, making his security detail look like amateurs, is wildly enjoyable. Even Tony and Rhodey's spat at Tony's birthday party is a fun watch. Just getting to see Rhodey don the armor for the first time, knowing what's around the corner, was exciting. And that whole scene is gut-wrenching as we watch Tony's beautiful cliffside mansion just get torn to shreds, and his relationship with Rhodey get pushed to the brink of collapse. It's really the standout scene in this film to me. Alright, let's talk about post-credit. We get one scene in Iron Man 2. We haven't really hit the era of multiple post-credits yet, so we get one scene, and it's a good one. Agent Coulson pulls up to a scene in the New Mexico desert. He watches as a group of civilians gathers around a mysterious object cemented in the dirt. And what's that object? A large Viking-styled hammer teasing the coming of Thor. It was at the time, and still is, a perfect little tease, especially with that slight thunderclap over top as the screen cuts to black. I loved it then, and I still love it now. Overall, Downey's second outing as the titular hero remains an enjoyable, breezy, and somewhat silly affair. There are glaring flaws that could have been solved with a few more passovers of the script. That's undeniable, but it is by no means a bad film. This movie is salvaged by its action and its intimate, quieter moments. The introduction of Widow and the debut of the War Machine only adds to the excitement of returning to this universe. It was a pleasure to revisit this movie, and if there's one thing I can leave you with, it's the words of Tony Stark. You can always count on me to pleasure myself.